Welcome to this edition of Annunaki Talks. In this video, I'll be talking about Asperger syndrome. Washing the whale. Asperger syndrome is... Before I start this video, I'll explain the main reason why I'm doing this video. I'm doing this video as to help people who have the condition of Asperger's or autism, and we also to spread a bit of knowledge and education to those that have either loved ones or people that know they have it, and to understand the difficulties they have in their existence in this world. A lot of this I'll be doing from my own experience. Each person that has Asperger's and autism, there's an overlapping of conditions that we all have traits, common traits, but each individual has their own soul and their own personality and their own way of reacting to things and their own attachments to things. So each person is unique, and it's very important that as a species that we don't label people into groups, different groups, and then we just paint them all with the same brush, or we treat them any differently than otherwise. We should always treat everyone with the same amount of love and respect that God has given us, and the love of their free will, and try and be understanding and compassionate and help them best you can. So just washing the wheel here. Just focusing. There's Asperger syndrome. It is unknown exactly where it comes from. There is very lot of theories out there explaining where might that come from. Now, in this video, to me, it's of no importance of where it comes from, where it doesn't come from, or things about treatment and things. What has helped me in my Asperger syndrome is my spiritual health and my connection with God, which has freed me of a lot of my thoughts through the Holy Spirit, which has helped me a lot. It's made me more listening, more compassionate, and I'm thankful for God for that. But Asperger syndrome is that you have, I show you some common traits. We have heightened senses. Number one, which is a key one, you'll notice a heightened senses of 5: taste, touch, smell, hearing, sight. We've heightened, our senses are extremely heightened. Lights would affect us a lot, such as disco lights or music, because our minds process a lot of information at a very accelerated rate, so things can be overwhelming. Children naturally, babies naturally, when they come into the world, find overstimulation of information a lot. Now, for someone that's autistic, it's exactly the same way. Even worse so, their sense of hearing is louder. For instance, if you have a television on, the television might be on, say, a 30 volume, but for someone with Asperger syndrome or autism, that would be doubled to even 60 or even 50. So that just explains the heightened senses. Our hearing is much heightened. Which makes us good for hearing things. If if there's a bug or something, we know straight away. So there's a lot of positives and things, but this world isn't designed like in ancient times. Someone that had Asperger's or autism would have been excellent at guarding the tribes, because they'll have excellent hearing, they'll be able to hear predators. But we no longer live in a world that involves us to use of our senses, especially heightened senses. So someone with Asperger's or autism back in ancient times would have been a blessing among the tribe, because the heightened senses would have helped the tribe survive difficult situations. People with Asperger syndrome have high intelligence. They might have low social intelligence because they don't adapt to this world. This world isn't catered to them, isn't understanding. Their heightened intelligence helps them a lot when processing information as patterns. For me now, I'm excellent at predicting patterns of things, patterns of people's behaviour, patterns of world events, patterns of things that by my calculation I can make predicted calculations of the odds of something happening before it happens. just on observing, just through observation, because I have excellent observational skills. People with Asperger's syndromes have usually one or couple key interests that they're focused on. Therefore, when they grow older, they tend to be excellent at it and leads to excellent job opportunities. Say if a child is excellent at computers, say if a child is more drawn to then to be so focused that they have complete commitment to that task, and that makes them an excellent worker in that field. For me now, I work at McDonald's. I love helping people. I always have. So my expertise, my traits of helping people and feeding my soul makes me excellent at that task because I'm focused on it. Reading knowledge, so reading books. I love reading books. So I can spend the whole day just reading the Bible or reading any book really for like hours on end. Than say watch television, because I don't really like watching television. Again, it has to do with the noise. So if there's any like discos or any like Wednesday events, I can't be around. It's almost in my brain when there's like over 15 people talking at the same time. What happens then is that when I was younger, I couldn't cope with that, and I would have reacted. But now what I do is that I remove myself from that space to a place that I can get quiet, take a couple of deep breaths, just let my brain kind of reset and then go back in again. So I did that when I was at my cousin's wedding. But I always have that. It's my brain processes a lot of things at the same time, and like a computer. If you put a lot of information into a computer at one time, it ends up causing the computer to shut down. And that's the best way to explain to someone that has an autistic brain how so much overstimuli of information, people talking, noises can cause their brain to shut down. And what happens is then it causes a reaction in the brain that is extremely painful, that they may react, they may suffer from wrath, and then they might get angry, and because they want the pain to stop. So the worst thing you can do at that stage is not be understanding and just do the polar opposite and just tell them to stop, because they can't. So what you do with them is that you just a lot of kids have Asperger's and autism. Usually get them headsets that kind of block off the sound, or you just don't put them in. You just kind of have to find coping mechanisms with the trials to cope with the noise, because there's a lot of things that. But explaining to your child that there's a lot of things that are out of their control, but trying to reassure them the best they can, coming up with a plan to how to cope, to adapt to situations would be a good idea, because a lot of kids have Asperger's and autism like to know exactly what's going on, but this word's the polar opposite. This word shows a lot of unvariables due to humanity's sinful behaviour, humanity's destructiveness, and therefore it's a lot of things that are unpredictable, and that's very hard for someone that's autistic, because autism wants things to be direct, wants to go in a straight line. The world is kind of going like this, and someone that's autistic just wants to go things in a straight line, just to A to B. But the world is like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, I, Z, and it's everywhere. And it's just utter chaos. For someone who's autistic, they want things to be just completely order, not disorder, order, because in their minds it makes more sense for things to go in a straight line than things to go everywhere, because that's just complete madness for someone that's autistic. Because if something's going a straight line, it makes more sense to them, because it means that things can go more directly, people's communication can go directly, life can go more directly, people can communicate better, there's more listening, than everything going everywhere. That's what everything in life, they want to go direct, and want people to be direct, don't want people to lie, they want people to be just straightforward. They don't want even the whole white lies. A lie is a lie. But like, if you tell someone who's autistic something, they will believe it. They can't differentiate body language. They can't tell if someone's lying. They can't tell if someone is angry, sad. They can't read emotions through body language. unless you tell them directly, they won't have the foggiest idea, because one, they can't read your mind. Number two, they can't read your body language. Your body language is alien to them. But for instance, for me now, you could tell me anything about your life, and I would take it as truth. There's a part of me that knows there's red flags when someone's been deceptive now, but there's kind of a kind of like internal war with my brain is that what's not and what's not true. But the Holy Spirit has kind of helped me to differentiate that. So I'm way better now thanks to that. But for someone that's autistic, it's very cruel to lie to them, and especially about the whole any lie, and this goes to any events about anything you tell them about, say about a being that that helps children and things, and and it turns out a decade later it's a lie. That has severe consequences on any child, but especially a child that's autistic. So I wouldn't recommend ever lying to a child. For whatever reason in your mind you think it's a good idea to lie, lying is never good. It's not good. It teaches a child that lying's okay. It teaches a child, and that's not good. Especially autistic child, it doesn't prepare them for the world. It makes things hard for them. Now, do people lie? Yes, but you could teach your children about lying. There's a difference in teaching a child about lying and then you actively lying to your child in order to teach them. That's screwed up. Because your child puts faith and trust in you, and when you lie to them, it kind of makes them question everything about the world, and that isn't good. It's good for a child to question things, yes, but when they question everything, and then it makes them hard to form bonds with people, because then they have so much severe trust issues. So for someone that's autistic, it's very important for them to be in a safe, secure environment with people that don't lie to them, that people are kind of loving and consistent, and that empower them, that don't use their disability as a way to use them or control them or demean them or in any way hamper their development by saying that, oh, that's the way they are, or that's, that they can't amount to anything like, because you see past failures and then you protect, saying because they failed before, then you're not doing this, they fail again. You don't know that, but even if they do fail, they have the free will to choose. The free will is very important for someone that's autistic. You have to give them free will. You have to make them make mistakes. You have to let them grow. You can't, if you have your own fears that projected onto your child, that's not helping them. They need to grow up. They need to fail to grow up. Like any child, like yourself, like everyone, we need to fail to grow. We need to fail to understand. We need to fail to understand religion, and we're all gonna get hurt. We're all gonna have people that hurt us. But that's a part of our existence of growing, and our spiritual health should be the most important. There are a lot of kids that are autism where don't understand the way the world is at all. They see the world as completely just utter madness, and many people are autistic don't follow into the world of the way the world is. They see the world differently. They see the world as more out of love, really, because if you meet most autistic people, they see the world more that way. Some kids with autism tend to be more into themselves, so they tend to become more narcissistic, depending on the personality type, or they tend to be more over-loving, and they tend to want to love others more than themselves, so they either become selfish or selfless, depending on multiple factors as well. But most times kids that have autism just struggle to fit into the world, so they become extremely isolated. They have very few friends. They tend to spend most of the time by themselves, and they tend to be focused on their interests or their loves. Say if they like trains, or if they like ducks, or they like books, knowledge, jewelry. Now autism tends to be more prevalent in boys than girls, but a lot of girls would be misdiagnosed or not diagnosed because it's due to where society is. A lot of girls, they're not diagnosed with autism when they did, unless it's very prevalent. A lot of it it's classified as something else instead, as attention seeking or ADHD. you have overlapping of conditions as well, like ADHD and things, but a lot of times you will have a child that will be autistic and they might be misdiagnosed with something else. Or they might be seen as just shy when they're younger, and therefore, that's why, that's why a lot of girls get misdiagnosed and never diagnosed. This is the thing now. It's very important for a child not to form an identity around their condition, because that leads to people just seeing them as just that condition. And they never see the humanity in them. They will often also use the child, then will also become attachment to it and use their condition as an excuse for their behaviour. And I was guilty of this when I was younger as well, so that's why I don't like. I recognise my condition, but I mustn't stand something like anyone is autistic or whatever condition they have. Using that as a way of controlling their behaviour or is not good, and for them to have an identity towards it is not good. We all have to take ownership and responsibility of our actions. To a certain extent, if a child is severely autistic, then they might not be aware of their own actions, and that's the difference. But I'm aware of things to a certain point. I just find this word stupid, and be honest with you. Especially when I had the Holy Spirit now, it's just made it more obvious to me. But if I wasn't autistic, I would have probably never have received the Holy Spirit. It would have been much harder, and it's because of my Asperger's and autism that I have a stronger connection to God than I would have otherwise, and that's the number one blessing I have for the condition I have. It's made me close to God, it's making me a more loving person, more compassionate person, more understanding person, more forgiving person. And I'm blessed, because that's the number one thing I'm blessed about what I was born with. It's made me into a more spiritual being than I would have been otherwise, and it's made my connection to God way more easier, and my attachments to things much easier in this world as a result of it. If you have a child that is autistic, it's just very important just to treat them exactly as loving as all the rest of your children, and so that your other children don't become bitter towards your child that's autistic. But it's very important for all of you to support each other. That's the most important thing, especially in times of crisis or times of deep hardships. It's very important for you all to rally together and support each other. And it's to encourage the one who's autistic in empowerment, and not to see the failure as as a negative, but as a positive, because they're growing. So it's important to encourage them more to even fail more, because it's just the act of them act out their free will, their choices is the most important thing, that they're using the time to attempt to move forwards moment, then just soften this in a slosh and their creativity never be neutralized, because people who are autistic are very articulated, are very intelligent, and for that gift, and that's a gift from God. And it's your duty as a parent or loved one who's someone autistic to nurture that ability and to empower them and help them, so then they can spread that love to the world, their knowledge, their abilities, their skills, to help others. And that's what we should all be doing, regardless if you're autistic or not. We should identify the best in people and try and nurture that at a very young age, and the destructive kind of elements of a person, not to focus on that, but focus on the positive and creativity of people, for everyone to help each other. Especially families. I love washing wear. I find it very therapeutic. So, also, sound of water I find very soothing, like rain. Some type of sounds. If you're autistic, it's a frequency of sound. There's certain frequency of sound for each person's autistic. Like someone else who's autistic, this might drive them insane. For another person, it'd be soothing. So that's kind of the difference. Different sounds have different frequencies that affect one person with autism differently than another person. So, but like, they all have like heightened senses to light, to sound, to taste, to touch. To smell. Like for instance, I struggle with the smell of fish. If I go past a fish shop, I can't. And I would love to eat fish, but because that smell of it, I can't. The smell is just overwhelming my senses. But yeah, they've heightened smells of things. They've heightened touches. They've heightened, especially sound. Sound seems to be a thing to struggle with the most. Overstimulated sound, because this world is always noisy because people are consumed by the world, and there's noise everywhere. So if you have a child that's autism and autistic, has Asperger syndrome, I suggest that when you go on holidays to places, to go to a place that's very quiet and remote, away from noise. Say a mountain or the nature, or just something away from the cities and towns. That's what I would suggest. Probably something out in the rural areas, like the countryside of things. And if you have a child with autism, I would suggest you to live out in the rural areas, so the sound will be good. But also it would be very important for you to gradually get them used to going into town and city on a gradual basis, so they become more adapted to the sound. But it's just like a gradual process. But be aware if they come overstimulated, for one of you kind of move out and not have attachment to time. So to plan out your day, say like 3 hours, and say like allocate like 15 minutes. Say if you're in a shopping centre, and say if your child's been overstimulated, it's best that you have 2 people come to you with the child, so one of you can then go with like the child and go and then can watch the child, and say the child comes home, they can go to a quiet place. Or would be great for like Tesco's and all the supermarkets and all these businesses, if they had like special rooms that catered towards people that were autistic, children with autism. So if they come overstimulated in the shop centre, there's like a little quiet place they can go to. That's what I recommend, like the government introduced, or like people or businesses to kind of take consideration. Like have a little place in the business just for the child, just to go a quiet area, just like allocate like a quiet area into the shop. So that would recommend even my own business, like McDonald's or Tesco's or shopping centres or anywhere, if there was like that. I know in airports now they have a special sensory places for like people autistic. So that'd be encouraged more, would be good, just like a play area, and for also them like as well to interact with other people as well, is good as well. So there should be more of that in the world. The world should be more catered towards helping children. That's the way the world should be, but it isn't. But same with the education system. Everything in this world should be catered towards the development and growth of a person's soul and spirituality, and also nurture their skills and their abilities and traits and love, so they'll be able to help other people. And there'll be a world of more cooperation instead of a world of divide, instead of a world of people fearing each other's perceptions of each other, that people be understanding, not judgmental, and just to help each other out of love or respect and anything, not a love of money, but a love of each other, a love of humanity, love of God. And someone's autistic, they see the world differently, and sometimes the way they see the world is beautiful in itself, but the world will probably never see it that way, and that's the tragedy of it all. It's very important to come up with a plan for someone's autistic, but also to teach them to adapt them to the world in bits and bits. But the most important thing I would say, because I think heightened senses is a big issue, is to kind of help them kind of bit by bit kind of get used to the world and try and help them with their senses overload. Probably talk not in a fast pitch kind of frequency of voice, but in a very soft voice. So that you and also not to say a lot of information all at once, and just kind of just talk in very small sentences. Now they may be able to, it's all dependent, because some people with autism may be able to process a lot of more one-on-one things, but if you have like 5 people talking at one time, they can't process that information. So if you're talking to someone that's autistic, it's best for you to talk to them on a one-on-one, so not to have like 4 people, because it kind of overwhelm. Well, 2 things happen. One, they feel like they're ganged up upon, and that makes them very uncomfortable. Number 2, they feel that they can't process what you're saying because there's so many people talking at the same time. So it's best that you talk to them on a one-on-one basis, and so that they have one input for one person and not like one person, because a lot of kids with autism and adults when they come to autism, that if they have one person say something to them and then have another person say something else to them that contradicts what the other person is saying, they get very confused, and then they're trying to figure out like who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth, and which information is right and which information is right, instead of that in most cases that what both people are saying are probably incorrect. So that is a hard thing for them as well. So if you have like a household where one parenting style is different than another parenting style from one parent to another parent, that can be deeply confusing to a child's development and direction in life, instead of like both parents having like a cooperative plan of how to help their child. If like one parent is doing things another way, another parent doing another thing that contradicts the other parent, that is not good, especially for any child, but especially a child that's autistic. It's not good. It's very important that both parents act as a team. That's very important, that they both communicate with each other and they're both direct in what they're trying to do for the child. But the most important thing is for to teach a child about God. It's to teach a child about the love of God, and the child, that a child has free will, and for a child to make mistakes, and for a child to grow in knowledge and abilities, intelligence and skills, and develop a more growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. This world could be more kind of understanding and caring, but that depends on each individual's free will, or whether or not they want to help people make the world much easier for others, or if they just want things to stay status quo and for things to be more chaotic. But someone that like myself, I think the world would be more better if people just made the world much more easier for people to grow, than for them to constantly have to have walls and barriers that make things much harder. Then these barriers be unnecessary in the first place. Now that said though, these barriers and walls made me stronger for it, but looking back though, they were unnecessary to begin with. They were put there because of stupid humans, I had to forgive myself in my life saying stupid humans. Humans that make things more difficult for themselves, I should say the word stupid, and more difficult for themselves and their lives and humanity in general. The most dumbest thing that people do is they elect corrupt people into power that don't give a crap about them. And then they make policies that has consequences for their children and their children's future and their children's and the generations to come. Never elect people that don't have love of God in them, because they only love the world and they only love what they get from the world. They don't care about their souls or their spirits, and therefore they'll be unable to understand what love is, and therefore it's also very important to, when you're making decisions for your children in terms of politics, especially if your society is catered towards that system, to vote for people that actually care, that actually love and care about certain issues and situations about improving humanity. If not, don't elect them. And I honestly believe that politicians should be on minimum wage. The fact that they get like €190,000 a year just to destroy their own people is utter madness. That's the price of a house. Their salary can buy a house, and they're already well off to begin with. Now, so if you're someone that wants to like help your child with autism, if you vote for people in power that because at the moment I've noticed that a lot of charities with autism have to rely on the charity of goodness of people and not survive. Instead of the government having €190,000 salary, if they lived off minimum wage, because if you already have, this is what's evil about this, if you already have a comfortable lifestyle, of existence? Or are we, before getting into power, are we having a house? Are we having a ways of living? Why on earth are people then paying them so much money then? It's utter greed. That's basically what sums up. It's utter greed, and it has different effect on people or humans then, because that resources could go towards hospitals, education, healthcare, instead of going to someone's bloody pocket that already were off to begin with. In this life, all you need is a roof over your head and food, and two main things. All other things are secondary. Clothes for well-done things, and that's it, but not too many clothes. Materialistic things aren't important. DVDs, games, all this is not as important as food. Food, the Bible, and a roof over your head so you can live are the most important things. Everything else is secondary. Like buying things for to impress other people, not important. A car, buying an expensive car. A car that works to go to A and B, that's what should matter. It shouldn't matter the brand of car. Oh, it's a fancy Ferrari. Doesn't matter. If it goes A, B, that's all that matters. It's working, that's all that matters. Same with clothes. Does the clothes fit? Okay. That's it. That's all should matter. We have this tendency as a species that we want to like to impress other people. That's what doesn't matter. What should matter is to use our resources to help people. Instead of like buying resources on yourself, use those resources to help other people. That's what should matter most. And that goes with, say, if you have a child who is autistic, you should use your resources to help in their development and growth, help in the nurturing their abilities, like paying for like say going to like soccer training, or if they have like interests in art and things, using that resource as an investment in their future, an investment in development of their abilities, and not to become bitter and afterwards can use it against them, because you should only do things out of love. You should only help people out of love. Otherwise, don't do it. If you're using it as a form of way of control mechanism, or you become a bit afterwards and say, oh, this person did this to me and stuff like that. No, don't do it then. You do things out of love or not at all. It's that simple. And if humanity had that philosophy, the world would go a better place. So, out of love or not. Simple. Respect each other's free will. Everyone has free will. They have choices to make. They have choices of who to choose to be with and who not to be with. But it's very important for your child with autism that when you're in their presence, it's because you want to be in their presence, not because you feel obligated because you're their parent and your loved one to them, but that you actually genuinely want to be there for them and want to help them develop and want to help them succeed in life and for them to grow. That is your number one priority as a parent to a child, is the development and the growth of their spiritual health, their physical health, and their emotional health. That is your number one priority. Well, God and then your children. But through God, do you understand that priority? That's, because you don't have attachment to money. Your money is temporary. Your existence is temporary. So your resources, your abilities, your intelligence should be passed on to your children or those around you and to your loved ones. That is the number one purpose of existence in this world. It's not to be greedy. It's not to feed our sins and destructiveness. It's to feed our heavenly virtues. It's to feed the goodness and love in our soul that comes from God. That is our number one priority. And for someone's autistic, it's very important that you have the Holy Spirit, because it makes your life easier. But maybe just understanding this would help you understand how to help them. Very important. For any child, regardless if they're autistic or not, it's just very important for them to feel loved, to feel wanted, to feel that they have someone they can rely on, someone that can nurture their abilities, someone that can have faith in them. Someone that would help them grow and for them to become more independent and for them to do more actions. And if a child is very autistic and does not have the capabilities to be as independent as they can be, at least respect their free will and try to help them as best as can to be as independently as they can. That sense of freedom will help them a lot. main thing is to be with your child because you want to be in your child, not because you feel obligated to, and that it brings joy to be with your child, and regardless of their age, even when they're adults or when they get older, that joy and that love for them is still there. Anyway, I hope this video, I might do a couple more videos on Asperger syndrome, going in more deeper detail, talking more about my life experiences and things, but this is just a quick video while I was washing the wheel. So I might do more of these Annunaki Talks videos, but I do hope that what I've said in this video has in some way helped others understand about Asperger syndrome, and maybe be able to help those that have it, and also help them grow. That's my number one reason why I wanted to make this video, just to help others, and to, I just want to see humanity just loving each other and just helping each other grow. And because when I see children, I see a lot myself in them. I remember my childhood very well, and I just want them to have that nurturing and love that God has given me. Yeah, I do hope this might help a parent that has autism, or a child that has autism, Asperger's syndrome, or if you have a loved one that has it, or if you know someone that has it, that this video might be able to be of a help and assistance to you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video.